Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points brought to light by the text. It is not the format for everyone, but people do find value in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box down below, along with the original source material, the link for my book where I teach you to do magic and to live responsibly, and the links to get in contact with me directly, either for services or for direct support, so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. In addition to that, if you do find value, I ask you to hit all of the beautiful buttons down below. Give me a like, a share, a follow, throw me a comment, whether you agree or disagree with anything that is stated. Put it in the box down below, and if it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks. Consider joining for a membership or picking up a copy of the book. With that being said, we are going to now dive in and continue our exploration of the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum with the tale of the Channon Yeoman. Now, this is a long section. This is like 23 pages, 24 pages. I'm going to blow through it. We will not be stopping to discuss a lot, right? If it is egregious, we will. But for the most part, we have hit a lot of the topics already. And I say that assuming because we haven't read this. I haven't read this yet. We read these together. But I am going to be blowing through it rather quickly. We will mostly just be reading into the record today. Let's go. The tale of the Channon Yeoman. With this Channon I dwelt 7 year, and of this science am I never the near. All that I have I lost thereby, and God what so hath many mo than I. All right, so this is already unfruitful, right? I have been doing this for 7 years, and I have never been near the science, and I have lost things, and other people who have tried it have done so as well. There I was wrought to be right, fresh and gay, of clothing and eke of every other good array. Now may I wear an hose upon mine head, and where my colour was both fresh and red, now it is wan and of a leaden hue. Woe so it useth, sore shall him rue. And of my swink, yet blared in mine eye, lo, which advantage it is to multiply, that citing science hath made me so bare, that I have no good where that ever I fare. And yet I am indebted so thereby of gold, that I have borrowed truly, that while I live I shall it quit never. Let every man beware me ever, what manner man that casteth him thereto, if he continue, I hold his thrift, I do. So help me God, thereby shall he never win, but empty his purse and make his wits thin. And when he thorough his madness and folly hath lost his own good through jeopardy, then he exiteth other men thereto. To lease her good as himself hath due, for unto shrews joy it is an ease, to have her fellows in pain and disease. For thus was I once served of a clerk, of that no charge I will speak of our work. When we be there as we shall exercise our elvish craft with seamen wonder wise. Our terms been so clerical and so quantity, I blow the fire till mine heart faint. Some of these rhymes are not going to work, right? This Old English, I do not know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I am trying to approximate our current English from this. Some of it is fairly simple, some of it is not, right? This was so quaint. It looked like quantity. That was my mistake, right? So quaint and heart faint, that works, but while I'm reading it, I may not catch it. Don't hold that against me, right? I'm doing the best I can with it. What should I tell each proportion of things which we working upon? As on 5 or 6 ounces may well be, of silver or of some other quantity. And beside me to telling you the names of Orpiment, Brent Bones, Ron Squames, that into powder ground been full small, and in an earthen pot how put is all. And shalt I put in and also prepare paper. What? That is weird, right? And shalt I put in and also paper before these powders that I spoke of here. Maybe that is wrapping them in powder. I mean, this is an earthen pot, so maybe this is just talking about storage. I mean, powder ground, full, small, and making it very tiny pieces. And shalt I put it in and also paper. Yeah, that's got to be. Before these powders that I speak of here, and well is I covered with a lump of glass, and much other things that there was. And of the pots and glass and gluting, that of the air might pass out nothing. And of the early fire and smart also, which that was made, and of the care and woe that we had in our matters subliming, and in amalgaming, and in calcining, of quicksilver, eclipsed mercury crude, for all our flight we can not conclude. Our orpiment and supplement, mercury, our ground liturgy, eke on the porphyry. Of each of these ounces a certainty, not helpeth us, our labor is in vain. Neek our spirits affection. This is interesting, right? I'm going to point this out because this is the first time we've seen this happening. These misspellings and fixings, like we have not seen that before. And while that is understandable, paper was a resource that was rather difficult to make, right? Without mechanical processes, it's a difficult thing, like not overly complicated, but definitely labor intensive. And so saving the paper would be a thing. But most often what would happen was that they would scrape it away, right? They would take little bitty pieces with a sharp edge and just scrape away the ink and then write over it. This crossing out, that might be significant for something. Now, what it is, I don't know. I don't have the key. But this is definitely different than the other things, right? And this isn't just like us today. We can photocopy a book and then we create copies from that, right? This was done by somebody copying the work, right? He didn't just take an already existent misspelled work and include it. This was misspellings happening in the including of the work in this work. And if he has made this many mistakes already, right? This is one, and that brought it to mind, but they have another one up here. Well, I don't see where it is now, but I saw it when we were going through. Right here, the paper, right? That doesn't make any sense, right? If he is making this many mistakes in this short amount of time, that means that in the other ones he did too, right? People like me don't just misspell on occasion. We have to take our time and do it correctly, or we might misspell quite often. This is misspellings. This is corrections, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense being included in this way unless it is significant, unless there is a reason why the spirits go from affection into affection, which is not the same thing. I don't even know what the first word would be, right? Maybe that is ascension. Okay, so this was from ascension into ascension. Now, again, that may be significant, it may not. I do not have the particular key for it, but it is significant enough to point it out in the middle of the study, right? We have not seen this happen in the rest of this, and it has not been an insignificant amount of time that we have gone through this. So, in ne are spirits ascension, ne yet are matters that lion of fix a doom. Mo in our working nothing avail, for lost is our labor and our travail, and all the cost, a 20 divil away, is lost also which we upon it lay. There is also full many another thing that is to our craft appertaining. Though I by order him in rehearse can, because that I am a lewd man, yet will I tell in him as they come to mind, though I cannot set him in her kind. Ashbowl, Armanici, verdigris, boris, and sundry vessels made of earth and glass. Our urinals, our dispensaries, that's a weird word. That's got to be something to do with incense, right? Vials, crosslets, and sublimatories, concurbites and alembics, eke and others such, they're enough to leak. All right, now some of these I recognize, some of them I don't, right? Verdigris, that is a thing. It is an essential substance. It is generally associated with the color green. It is made from raw copper. Borax, that is obvious, right? Borax is a substance that is used as a cleansing agent in a lot of different things, including blacksmithing. This Armanici, I don't know. Ash bowl may be something to do with the wood of the ash, but do not take that, right? But we have vessels of earth and glass. We have urinals, vials, sublimatories. Some of these I recognize, some of them I don't. Alembics, absolutely. Concubite, no idea. And others such dear enough a leak. It needeth not to rehearse them all. Waters rubifying and boils gall. Arsenic, salaminic, and brimstone, those we know. And herbs could I tell eke many one, as ergamon, valerian, and lunary, and others such, if that me lift to tear. Our lamps burning both night and day, to bring about our craft, if that we may. Our fornace, eke of calcination, and of waters albification, unslaked lime, chalk, and glare of an eye, powderies diverse, ashes, dong, piss, and clay. Piss was a very common element, right? He said here the urinals. That is because they collected urine for a variety of things, like urine has acids that can be used to help tan leather, for instance. It requires a distillation process, a little bit of a fermentation process too, if I'm not mistaken. But it was used for a lot of different things. They would dehydrate it and take the salts as the essence of a human. There was a lot of things that they used that for. Seared pokets, saltpeter, and vitriol, which we've seen already once, and diverse fires made of wood and coal. Salt tartar, alkali, and sal preparate, and combust matters and coagulate. Clay made with horse dung, man's hair and oil, of tartar, alum, glass, berm, wort, and argoil. Resalgor and other matters imbibing, and eke of our matters incorporating, and of our silver citronation, our cementing, and eke fermentation, our ingots, tests, and many mo. I will you tell, as was me taught also, the 4 spirits and the bodies 7. By order as oft I heard my Lord name. Now we may be getting into something. Right, bodies 7, that is probably going to be talking about the planets, but it is probably talking about something else as well. The 4 spirits, you have the air, fire, water, and earth. We have discussed those at some extreme length. Air is the soul, it is the deciding factor. Earth is the corporeality, the salt. The fire and water are 2 sides of the same element. One is cooling, one is burning. That is the spirit, right? That is the Trinity, which is in 4 parts, but those 2 parts are really just 1 part in opposition to each other, which is like being on opposite ends of the same coin, right? The spectrum consists of the 2 ends and everything in the middle, right? And so that would be the 2 ends. The first spirit, quicksilver, clept is. The second, orpiment. The third, I was, ammoniac, and the fourth brimstone. All right, so quicksilver, that is mercury, that is the soul. The second, orpiment, not a clue. All right, the third, ammoniac, not a clue. I don't think that looking it up would actually bring us any value, right? Brimstone, that is going to be fire, right? That is also a synonym for mercury, or not mercury, for sulfur. Sulfur expresses itself as the black and the white sulfur, that is the masculine and the feminine. The white is the fire, the black is the water, right? Is the cooling side of it. One of these, the orpiment, most likely is going to be water. I do not know that for sure. Just because it is a mint, and like a mint means spreading in a large way, right? An ointment is something that you spread on your skin. The firmament is spread across the sky. And so I'm making a not very logical assumption that that one is going to stand for water. One of these two will, right? It is not going to be quicksilver, and it is not going to be brimstone. One of these is going to be earth. One of them is going to be water. Maybe they will tell us. The body's 7 ek lo here him anon. Soul, gold is. Soul is the sun. Luna, silver, we threp. That is the moon. Mars, iron. Mercury, quicksilver, we clep. Saturnus, lead, and Jupiter is tin. And Venus, copper, by my father kin. We have talked before about how they counted both the sun and the moon as planets, even though they are not. One is a satellite of us, right? The moon is not a planet in and of itself, but it is understandable how they would think so. There are, however, more planets than they had, right? They didn't have Uranus, for example. And so their understanding of the cosmos was incomplete at best, right? Astrology was not a complete science because of those things. And we've dealt with astronomy quite extensively, so we're not going to deal with it again. But these things are correlations, right? Soul to gold, the sun is golden. Luna to silver, the moon appears silver, right? White and silver are fairly close together, particularly set against the night sky. Mars is iron. Okay, that is a random designation. There's really not any reason. Quicksilver is simply because it moves fast in the air for Mercury. Saturnus, lead. I think they could actually see Saturn and Jupiter. Lead is kind of a grayish substance. Jupiter is tin. But Quicksilver, lead, and Jupiter all give pretty much the same visible resonance, right? The resplendence of them are all fairly similar. But Venus, copper, is kind of an orange-red. This cursed craft, whoso will exercise, he shall no good have that may him suffice. This cursed craft, whoso will exercise, he shall no good have that may him suffice. Very interesting. That is saying that these things are not, they are allegories, right? They are not literal, they are allegorical. That is what that is saying, right? If you are following this just by this, then you will not get where you are going, right? The cursed craft, who will exercise, he shall no good have that may him suffice, right? So if this you suffices, you will have no good. For all the good he spendeth thereabout, he less shall thereof have, I no doubt. Whoso that lifteth to utter his folly, let him come forth and learn to multiply. And every man that hath aught in his coffer, let him appear and wax a philosopher. Askance that craft is so light for to leer, nay, God wot all he be monk or friar, priest or canon or any other wight, though he sight at his book both day and night. Sit at his book both day and night. In learning of this 11th, 9th lore, all is in vain, and pard Moshe more. Is to leer elude man this subtlety? If I speak not thereof, it will not be. All could he letterer, and could he none. How could he letter, or could he none? So if he could spell or not. As in effect he shall find it all one. For both two by my salvation, concluded in multiplication. Ilchi well when they have outdo. This is to say, and they fallen both two. Yet forgot I much rehearsal of waters corrosive and lime ale, and of body's mollification, and also of her induration, oils, ablutions, metals subtle, and telling you all, well past any Bible, that all where there is, wherefore is for the best. To telling you all would pass any Bible. That where is, wherefore as for the best. Of all the names now, I rest. For as I have told you now, to raise a friend, all look he never so row, a nay let be the philosopher's stone. Elixir clept and seeking fast, it con each one, for had we him, then we were sicker, you know. But unto God of heaven I made a vow, for all our craft when that we hand out alido, and all our slight, he will not come us to. He hath made us spend much good, for sorrow of which almost we wexen would. But that good hope creepeth in our hearts, supposing ever though we sore smart, to been revealed by him afterward, supposing, and hope is sharp and hard. I warn you well, it is sick and ever, that future temps hath made men deceiver, in trust thereof all that they ever had. Yet of that art they could not wax sad, for unto him it is bitter sweet. So seemeth it, for ne had it but a sheet, which that they might wrappen him in a night, and brat to walking in the daylight. They would in him sell and spend it on this craft, they cannot stint till nothing be left. And evermore where that ever they gone, men may him ken by smell of brimstone. Ken in this instance is know, right? Men may know him by the smell of brimstone. For all the world they stinkin' as a goat. Her savor is so ramish and so hot, that though a man a mile from him be, the savor will infect him, trusteth me. Lo thus by smelling and by threadbare array, if that men lift as folk, know they may. And if a man will ask him privily why they be clothed so unthriftily, right anon they will round in his ear, and saying that if that they a spade were, men would him flee by cause of her science. Lo thus these folk betrayin innocence. Pass over this, I go my tale unto, ere that the pot be unto the fire ado. Of metals with a certain quantity no lord him tempereth, and no man but he. Now he is gone, I dare say boldly, for as men saying he can done craftily. I'll get I what well he hath such a name, and yet full oft he renneth in the blame. And what ye, how full oft it happens so, this pot to breaketh, and farewell, all is go. These metals been of so great violence, our walls may not make him recitance. But if they were wrought of lime and stone, they persist so, and through the wall they gone. And some of them sinking into the ground, thus we have lost by times many a pound. and some are scattered all the floor about, some leaping into the roof without doubt. Though that the fend not our sight him show, I true that he with us be, that ilk shrew. And hell, where that he is Lord and Sire, in is there no more woe, no anger, no ire. When that our pot is broke, as I have said, every man chide and hold him a vela paid. Some said it was long in the fire making, some said nay, it was on the blowing. Then I was third, for that was mine office. Straw, quoth the third, ye been lewd and nice, it was not tempered as it ought to be. Nay, quoth the fourth, stint and hearken me, because our fire was not made of beech. That is the cause, and none other so teach. I cannot tell whereon it is along, but well I wot great strife is us among. What, quoth my lord, there is no more to done. Of these peril I will beware oft soon. I am right syker that the pot was crased. Be that as may, be ye not amazed. He is saying that the cause was the pot had a crease. As usage is, let's sweep the floor as swithe. Pluck up your heart and be glad and blithe. The mullock on a heap swept was, and on the floor cast a canvas. And all this millock in a five ye throw, and yeasted and plucked many a throw. Pard, quoth one, somewhat of our metal, yet it there here, though we have not all, and though this thing mishapped as now, another time it may been, well ye know, we mote put our good in adventure. A merchant pard may not endure, trusteth me well in his prosperity. Sometime his good is drowned in the sea, and sometime it cometh safe unto the land. Peace, quoth my lord, the next time I will fond, to bring our craft all in another plight. And but I do, sirs, let me have the white. There was default and somewhat well I wrote. Another said the fire was hot. But be it hot or cold, I dare say this, that we concluded evermore amiss. We failing of that which we would have, and in our madness evermore we crave. Then when we together, every man seemeth as wise as Solomon. See my book, which will shortly be out, The House Built Upon Shifting Sands, as to why Solomon was not wise. But all things, or you could go to the Bible study, Kings and Chronicles will get you there. But all things that shineth as the gold is not gold, as I have here told. Now every apple that is fair at eye is not good, at what so men clap or cry. Right so it fareth among us, he that seemeth the wistest by Jesus, is most full when it comes to the brief. And he that seemeth truest is a thief. That shall ye know ere that I from you wend. By that I of my tale have made an end. There was a canon of religion among us would infect all a town, Rome, Alexander, Troy, and other three. Though it as great I don't know this word as Nineveh, that though it is great, I don't know what that is. Woe as Nineveh. WOSO? That can't be an S. WONO? Right, Nineveh was considered to be the disobedient city, which later came to be obedient for no real good reason whatsoever. His flight and his infinity falseness, there could no man ridden, as I guess. Though that he might live 1,000 years in all the world, and falseness nigh his pair. For in his terms he would him so wind, and keep his words in so sly a kind, when he comen shall with any white. These misspellings are really getting me. I want to know what this is. When he coming. Now, there is one thing to bear in mind, right? This was Chose or Chaucer, however it's pronounced. I do not know. But he is credited with, in very large part, the creation of Middle English, right? He was taking words and creating a language for it. He is, in one single work, he has like 60 brand new words credited to his name. Much like Shakespeare, right? They were wordsmiths. They created words. And so some of this may be that he is creating those words. Some of it may be that the transcriber was not sure which one to put, right? I do find it difficult to believe that in a finished work, Chose, the wordsmith, would not decide upon the final word, right? He is making the words up. He is the authority in the position. Why not decide on one? Why have these misspellings in here? It really is probably a key that I don't have. And that bugs me. That he will make him dote and on right, but it a fiend be as himself is. Right, this says feud, F-E-U-D-E. But the correction is F-E-I-N-D-E. That is not even close to the same word, right? This one was come, C-O-M-E-N, coming. But the correction is C-O-M-M-V-N, comovin. That again is not the same thing. Now that might be convent, right? It might be coven. It might be common. I don't know, right? It is possible that it is both, right? It is possible that it is both common and common with two different spellings. But this one doesn't make sense. This is feud and fiended. I don't know. Full many a man hath he beguiled ere this, and mow well, if that he may live a while, and yet been ridden and gone full of many a mile, for him to seek and have acquaintance, not knowing of his false governance. And if you lust to give me an audience, I will it tell in here in your preference. But worshipful canons religious, not deemeth not that I slander your house. Although my tale of canon be, of every order, some shrewd as pard, and God forbid that all accompany. Should rue a single man's folly, to slander you is not mine intent, but to correct that miss is meant. This tale was not only told for you, but eke for many other mo, as you wit well how, that among Christ's apostles 12, there was no traitor but Judas himself. That is up for debate. I have done a Bible study. We have gone through quite extensively through the Bible study, and here is one of the many, many, many things that you can pull from that. God is omniscient, omnipresent, and fully aware of all the possibilities, right? How is it that he did not see that there would be a betrayal? He didn't, right? He did see that there would be a betrayal. And so, not only did he see that there would be a betrayal in quotation marks, but Jesus himself laid the commission upon him to go and do it. According to the story as it is written, Jesus told him, go and do your business. Right? He kissed him on the cheek and said, go. Was that traitorous, or was that fulfillment of your plan? What was it? Was there a choice in the matter? You were commanded by God himself on earth to go and turn him into the people. Was that betrayal? Was that what that was? You can make the argument either way, right? I don't care because, quite honestly, I don't believe in the story, right? There is another book coming out about that. The House Built Upon Shifting Sands is talking about the fact that you can read the Bible and you can extract some knowledge from it. There is truth contained in the Bible, but the Bible is not truth. It contains many, very much untruths. It is not a moral guide for the most part. It will lead you astray if you follow the words written. That is a problem with it. This is one of the same problems that we have with Genesis, right? In the beginning, God created the garden, and he placed these people in the garden, and then he planted this tree. And he had no idea whatsoever that these people would eat from the tree, right? That was not in his realm of possibilities. I told them not to. Obviously, they won't do it. It was never a conceivable thing for God, the all-powerful, all-creator of everything that exists. He had no clue whatsoever that these people would disobey the order. That's not taking into account that he only gave the order to one of the people. That's not taking into account quite a lot of things, right? That is just saying God is ignorant. God did not have any idea whatsoever. It was not part of the plan for humanity to eat from this tree that he placed in the middle of the garden. Right? There's a lot of problems with that. There's a lot of problems with this. If Judas had not betrayed Jesus, then Jesus would not have completed his mission. And if he had not completed his mission, then it would have been betrayal to not turn him in. Right? If he is sent here to be the redemption of all mankind, and in order to do so, he's got to die because we have to commit sacrifice in order to be forgiven from sin, that is something that we know, right? As stupid as that is. If he came to be the salvation, to be the sacrifice, then there is no possibility that Judas could not turn him in. That is the only acceptable outcome for the situation. So Judas was not a betrayer. He was doing exactly what he was recruited to do. Now, I don't believe that Jesus was God at all. I believe that he was exactly as much of a representative of God as every other single human that has ever walked the planet. And so the story to me is kind of irrelevant. It has some value. You can extract some value from it, but for the most part, it is built upon a lie, and therefore it is a lie. Nothing ever had to die for you to be forgiven from sin, right? God, the infinite, all-powerful creator of everything, does not accept a goat's blood in exchange for you doing bad things. That has never been a thing, will never be a thing, right? The only possible good interpretation of that is that it was a financial burden that you got placed upon you for violating the law. It's the exact same as a speeding ticket. There is no redemption for your eternal salvation by paying your fucking speeding ticket. It was the exact same thing. Even the Jewish understanding of the sacrifice was never about redeeming yourself from hell simply because they had no hell. They didn't have a heaven either. It's kind of a big deal. All right, I was not intending to go on that rant. Then why should the remnant have blame that guiltless were? By you, I say the same. Were they guiltless? Were they guiltless? That's another little rant that you can investigate for yourself. Go check out Gethsemane and see what happened there. Save only this. If you will hearken me, in any Judas in your covenant be, removeth him betime I you read. If shame or loss may cause in any dread, and be nothing displeased if you pray. But in this case hearken what I say. In London was a priest annualaire, that therein had dwelt many a year, which was so pleasant and so serviceable unto the wise, where he was at table, that she would suffer him nothing to pay. Right. Which was so pleasant and so serviceable unto the wise, where he was at able, that she would suffer him nothing to pay for board, no clothing, went he never so gay. And spending silver had he right, ye know, thereof no force I will proceed as now, and tell forth my tale of the canon that brought this priest to confusion. This false canon came upon a day unto this priest's chamber where he lay, beseeching him to, here's another one, right? Leave him a certainty or lean him a certainty. Those are not the same words. It has to be loan because of the next sentence, right? Beseeching him to loan him a certainty of gold, and he would quit him again. Lendeth me a mark, quoth he, but days 3, and at my day I will quit it thee. Now this one we actually can understand both sides of this, right? Lean doesn't really make sense until you get down here. Then leaneth me and leaveth me, right? Lendeth me. He didn't have a D, apparently. And so this was lendeth me a mark, not lendeth me a mark, but leaveth me a mark makes sense too, right? Leave it here, leave a mark in my hand. And at my day I will quit it thee, and if it so be that thou find me false, another day hang me by the house. This priest take him a mark, and that swith, and this canon him thanked of sith, and took his leave, and went forth his way, and at his 3rd day brought his money. And to this priest he took this gold again, whereof this priest was glad and sane and fain. Certes, quoth he, nothing annoyeth me to lend a man a noble 2 or 3, or what thing were in my possession, when he so true as of his condition, that in no wise he break wool his day. To such a man I can never say nay. What, quoth this canon, should I be untrue? Nay, that there were a thing false and of new. Truth is a thing that will ever I keep until the day in which I shall creep into my grave, or else God forbid, believeth this as sicker as your cred. God thank I, and in good time be it said, that there was never man yet Ivela paid for gold and silver that he to me lent, and never falsehood in mine heart I meant. And sir, quoth he, now of my privity, since ye so goodlich have been to me, and kind to me, and so great gentleness, somewhat to quit with your kindness. I will you show if ye will hear it will it lear. I shall it do to you anon right here, how I can work in philosophy. Take good heed ye shall if see with your eye that I will done a mastery, or I go. Ye sir, quoth the priest, and will ye so? May thereof I pray you heartily. At your commandment, sir, truly, quoth the canon, and else God forbid. Lo, how these service bid. Full soth it is that such proffered service stinketh, as witnesses the old wise, and that full sown I will it verse say, in this canon wrote of all treachery, that evermore delight hath and gladness, such finly thoughts in his heart impress, how Christ people he may to mischief bring. God keep us from his false dissimuling. What wist this priest with whom that he dealt, and of his harm coming nothing he felt. O silly priest, O silly innocent, with covetous anon thou shalt be blent. O graceless, full blind is thy conceit. Nothing art thou aware of his deceit, which this fox that shapen to thee, his wild wrenches thou mayest not flee. Wherefore to go to thy conclusion that referreth to thy confusion, unhappy man, anon I will my high to tell then unwitting thy folly, and eke the falseness of that other wretch, as forth as my cunning will stretch. This canon was my lord, ye whirlwind, Sir Host in faith, and by heaven Quinn. It was another canon, and not he, that can 104 more subtlety. He hath betrayed folk many a time, of his falseness it delieth me to rhyme. Ever when I speak of his falsehood, for shame of him my cheeks waxen red, algates they beginning for to glow. For redness have I none right well I know, in my visage for fumes diverse, of metals which ye have heard me rehearse, consumed and wafted hath my redness. Now take heed of this canon's cursedness. Sir, quoth he, to the priest, such a man gone for quicksilver that we had it anon, and let him bring ounces 2 or 3, and when he cometh as fast shall ye see a wonder thing which ye saw never ere this. Sir, quoth the priest, it shall be done awis. He bade his servant fetch him in this thing, he already was at his bidding, and went him forth and came anon again with this quicksilver shortly for to sain, and took these ounces there to the canon, and he him said well and sair adune, and bade the servant coals for to bring, that he anon might go to his working. The coals right anon were set, and this canon took out the crosselet of his bosom, and showed it unto the priest. This instrument, quoth he, which that thou seest, take in thy hand, and put thyself therein, of this quicksilver an ounce, and begin. In the name of Christ, to wax a philosopher, there be full few which I would prefer, to show him this much of my science. For here shall ye see by experience, that this quicksilver I will mortify right in your sight anon without lie, and make it as good silver and as fine as there is any in your purse or mine, or elsewhere, and make it malleable, or else hold me false and unstable. Amongst folks ever to appear, I have a poudre that cost me dear, shall make all good, for it is cause of all my cunning, which I you show shall. Voideth your man, and let him be there out, and shut the door whiles we been about our privity, that no man us espy, whiles that we working in our philosophy. All as he bade fulfilled was indeed. This ilk servant anon out yede, and his masters shut the door anon, and to our labor speedily they gone. This priest, at this cursed canon's bidding, upon the fire anon set this thing, sorry, and blew the fire and best him full fast, and this canon into this crosslet cast a powder. I not whereof it was. We made either of chalk, earth, or glass, and somewhat else was not worthy of fly, to blind with this priest, and bade him hide these coals for to couchen all above, the crosslet for in token that I the love. Quoth this canon, thine hinds too shall work out this thing, there shall be do. Grant mercy, quoth the priest, and was full glad, and couched coals as the canon bade, and while he busy was, and Findley wretch, this false canon, the foul fend him fetch, out of his bosom took a beechen coal, in which full subtlety was made a hole, and therein was put of silver lamellae an ounce, and stopped was without fail the hole with wax to keep the lamellae in. And understandeth that this false skin was not made there, but was made before, and other things I shall tell you more hereafter, that which he with him brought, ere he came to beguile him, he thought, and so did he ere they went a twine, till he had turned him, could he not blind. It dulleth me when that I of him speak, of his false heed fain would I me wreak. If I whipped how, but he is here and there, he is so variant, he biteth nowhere. But taketh this, sirs, now for God's love. He took his coal of which I spake above, and in his hand he bare it privily, and whiles the priest couched busily. This coals, as I told you ere this canon said, friend, ye done amiss. This is not couched as it ought to be, but soon I shall amend it, quoth he. Now let me meddle therewith but a while, for of you I have pight by St. Gile. Ye been right hot, I see well how sweat. Have here a cloth and wipe away the wet. And while the priest him wiped haste, this canon took the coal, I shrew his face, and laid it above and upon the midward of the crosslet, and blued well afterward, till that the coal's gone fast brenn. Now ye must drink, quoth this canon then, as swithe as shall well be well I undertake. Sit we down, and let us merry make. And when this canon bitchin coal was brent, all the lamay out of the hole into the crosslet anon fell a doon, and so it must needs by resoon, since it so even above couched was, and thereof wist the priest nothing alas. He deemed all the coals like good, for the slight nothing he understood. And when this alchemister saw his time, riseth up, Sir Priest, quoth he, and standeth by, and for I wit well ingot have I none. Goeth walked forth and bringeth a chalkstone, and for I will make of it the same shape that an ingot is, if I may have hape. And bring eke with you a bowl or a pan full of water, that ye shall see then how that our business shall hap and preve, and yet for ye shall have no misbelieve, no wrong conceit of me in your absence. I will not ben out of your presence, but go with you and come with yon again. The chamber door shortly to saying, they opened and shut, and went forth their way, and forth with him they carried the key, and coming again without delay. Why, what should I tarry all the long day? He took the chalk, and shape it in the wise of an ingot, as I shall you devise. I say he took out his own sleeve a tin of silver, evil mote he chieve, which that was but an ounce of weight, and taketh heed now of his cursed sleight. He shape his ingot in length and breadth, and of the tin without any dread, so slyly that the priest had not espied, and in his sleeve again he gained hide. And from the fire took up his matter, and into the ingot he put it with merry share, and into the water vessel he it cast, when that it him lift, and bade the priest as fast, look, what there is, put in then hand and grope. Thou shalt find there silver, as I hope. What devil of hell should it else be? Shaving of silver, silver is party. He put his hand and took up a tine of silver fine, and glad in every vein was this priest when he saw it was so, God blessing, and his mother's also. And also hallows have Sir Canon, said this priest, and I her malison. But, an ye vouchsafe to teach me this noble craft and this subtlety, I will be yours in all that ever I may. Says the priest, you say? Very interesting. Quoth the canon, that will I make say a second time, that ye now take heed. A been expert of this, and in your need, another day assay in mine absence, this discipline and this crafty science. Let take another ounce, quoth he, though of quicksilver without in words moe, and done therewith as I have done this, with that other which now silver is. This priest him besaith in all that he can, to don as this canon, this cursed man, commanded him, and fast blew the fire, for to come to the effect of his desire. And this canon right in the meanwhile, and ready was the priest east to beguile, and for a countenance in his hand bear, and hollow stick take keep and beware, in thinned of which an ounce, and no more, of silver lamile put was as before, was in his coal and stopped with wax well, for to keep it in his lamel every delay. And while this priest was in his busyness, this canon with a stick gan him dress, to him anon and his powder cast in, as he did erst, and divil out of his skin, him torn I pray to God for his falsehood, for he was ever false in thought and deed, and with his stick above the crosslet that was ordained with that falsetet, he stirreth the coals till all relent gan, the wax again the fire is every man, but he a fool be what well it mote need, and all that in that hole was out yede, and in the crosslet hastily it fell. But priest supposed nothing but well, and but besade him fast, and was wonder fain, supposing naught but truth, soth to sain. He was so glad that I cannot express in no manner his mirth and his gladness, and to the canon he preferred est soon, body and good. Yea, quoth the canon anon, though I be poor, crafty thou shalt me find. I warn thee yet, is there more behind? Is there any copper here within, said he? Yes, sir, quoth the priest, I true there be. Else go by some, and that a fifth. For a swithe. Now, good sir, go put that way in height. He went his way, and with the cooper he came, and this canon in his hand and name, and of that copper weighed out but an ounce, all too simple is my tongue to pronounce, and as ministry by my white the doubleness of this canon root all of curlness. He seemed friendly to him that knew him not, but he was finly both in work and thought. It worrieth me to tell of his falseness, and nonetheless I will it express, to the intent that men may beware thereby, for none other calls truly. He put this ounce of copper in the crosslet, and on the fire as swift as hath it set, and cast in powder, and made the priest to blow, and in his working for to stoop low, as he did erst, in all nas but a jape, right as him list, and the priest made his ape, and afterward in the ingot he cast, and in the pan put it at the last of water, and in he put his own hand, and in his sleeve, and ye by forehand heard me tell he had a silver tane. He slyly took it out, his curled hane, unwetting this priest of his false craft, and in the pan's bottom he hath it last, and in the water rumbleth to and fro, and wonder privily took up also the copper tane, not knowing this priest, and hided it, and hint him by the breast, and him to speak, and thus said in his game, stoopeth adown, by God ye be to blame. Helpeth me now, as I did you while ere, put in your hand, and look at what is there. This priest took up the silver tane anon, and then said to the canon, let us go with these 3 tanes, which we hand-wrought, to some goldsmith, and weet if it be aught. For my faith I knowed for my hood, but it were silver fine and good, and that swithe well proved shall be, until the goldsmith with these tines 3, they went, and put them in assay. To fire and hammer might no man say nay, and they were as them ought for to be. This sotted priest, who was gladder than he, was never bird gladder against the day. The nightingale agent, the session of May, was never none that left better to sing, no lady lustier in caroling. And for to speak of love and woman heed, a knight in arms to done a hearty deed, to standing in grace of his ladies dear, then had this priest his craft to leer. And to the canon thus he spake and said, for the love of God that for us all did, and as I may deserve it unto you, what shall this receipt cost, telleth me now. By Our Lady, quoth this canon, it is dear. I warned you well, save I and a frere. In England there can no man it make. No force, quoth he. Now, sir, for God's sake, what shall I pay? Tell me, I you pray. I was quod he, it is full dear, I say. Sir, at one word, if that list it have, you shall pay £40 to God me save. And near the friendship that did ere this, to me you shouldn't pay more a wis. This priest, the sum of £40 anon, of noble set, and told him every con. To this canon for this ilk recite all his worrying and his fraud and deceit. Sir priest, he said, I keep for to have no loose of my craft, for I would it were kept close. And as ye love me, keep it secret, for all men know of all my subtlety. By God, men would have so great envy to me by cause of my philosophy. I should be dead, there were no another way. God, it forbid, quoth the priest, what ye say, yet had I lever spend all the good, which that I have, or else I wax would, then that ye should fall into such mischief, for your good will ye have right pref, quoth the canon, and farewell, grant mercy. He went his way, and never the priest him say, after that day, and when this priest should make an essay at such time as he would, of this receipt farewell it not could be. Lo, thus bejaped and beguiled was he, thus maketh he his introduction, to bring folks to their destruction. Considereth, sirs, how in each estate betwixt men and gold is debate. So for forth that unneth there is none, this multiplying blindeth so many one, that in good faith I true that it can be, I true that it be, the greatest cause of such scarcity. These philosophers speak in so mistily in this craft that men cannot come thereby. For any wit that men have nowadays, they may well chatter and jingle, as doth the jays, and in her terms set her lust and her pain. But to her purpose shall they never attain. A man may lightly learn, if he have aught, to multiply and bring his good to naught. For such a lucre is in this lusty game, a man's mirth it will turn all to grame, and emptying also great and heavy purses, and making folk to purchase curses of him that hath also her good lent. O fie for shame that they hand be brent. Alas, cannot they fly the fire's heat, that it usin, I read that it heat. Lest ye lessen all, for bet I never, then never is late. Never to thrive were too long a date. Though that ye prowl, hey, ye shall it never find. Ye been as bold as bard and the blind, that blundereth forth and peril casteth none. He is as bold as to rend a gentle stone. As for to beside in the way, so farin ye that multiplyin, I say. If that your eyen cannot seen aright, looketh that your mind lack not his sight. For though you look never so broad and stare, ye shall not win a mite in that affair. But waft all that ye may rep and ren, withdraw the fire least to it fast brenn. Meddleth with that art no more, I mean, for if you done where your thrift is gone full clean, and right as swithe, I will you tell and hear what that the philosophers saying is this matter. Lo, thus Faith Arnold of the New Town, of his rosary maketh McCune, he saith right without in any lie that there may no man Mercury mortify. But if it be with his brothers knowingly, lo, how that he first said this thing of philosophers' father was Hermes. He saith how that the dragon doubtless ne dieth not, but if he be slain with his brother, and this is for to sane. by the dragon Mercury and no other. He understood that brimstone was his brother, that out of Sol and Luna were drawn, and therefore said he, take heed to my saw. Let no man beside him this art for to seek, but he that intention and speech of philosophers understand can, and if he do, he is a lewd man. For this science and this cunning, quote he, is of the secret party. Also, there was a disciple of Plato that on a time said his master too, as his book Senior will bear witness, and this was his demand in Sothfastness, tell me the name of the privy stone. And Plato answered unto him anon, take the stone that Titanos men name. Which is that, quote he. Magnesia is the same, said Plato. Ye sir, and is it thus? It is ignotium per ignotius. What is magnesia? Good sir, you I pray. It is a water that is made, I say, of elements four, quote Plato. Tell me the rock, good sir, quote he, though, of that water, if it be your will. Nay, nay, quote Plato, certainty that I nil. The philosophers were, is sworn a con, that they should discover it unto none. Nay, in no book it write in no manner, for unto Christ it is so lief and dear, that he will not it discovered be, but where it liketh to his deity. Man to inspire and eke for to defend, when him that him liketh, lo, this is his end. Then conclude I thus, sins the God of heaven, nay, will not that the philosophy nemen, how that a man shall come unto this stone, I read as for the best, let it gone. For who so maketh God his adversary, and for his work anything in contrary unto his will, certes, never shall he thrive, though that he multiply term of his life, and there a point. For ended is my tale, God send every true man boat of his bail. And that is going to bring us to the end of the priest canon, the canon's priest, I forget what it's called. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult series of topics. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs, and I do have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those. It is not intentional, but it is not something that I apologize for. I blew through that because I really didn't have a whole lot offensive to say, unless you choose to take offense at the Judas stuff, and that is you. This overall was a long telling of multiplication doesn't work, right? Multiplication is the increase by combination to an exponent degree, right? Not if I add this and this together, I get this thing that is the sum of the two. But if I take this and multiply it times this, then I get an exponent of that. Well, that's just not going to happen, right? You will never receive more than the input. It's just simple physics. Part of that is going to be lost to heat. There will be a vaporization for any purification process. You will lose mass, right? All of that, in addition to the fact that you cannot create an element from another element through the application of fire alone. We, as humanity, have managed to change an element into another element. Not in the simple ways, right? We take these compounds and change them into other compounds. But we have taken bismuth, which is a compound, or an element, and we have changed it into gold, which is another element. We have taken lead, which is an element, and transmuted it into gold, which is another element. We have done this with 3 elements. It is due to magnesia. Magnesia is magnetism. We have discovered that through these alchemical studies. When it refers to magnesia, as it did, it is talking about magnetics. When it was talking about the sulfur and the brother and the sister, that is the water and the fire that we started with. There was nothing that was explained in here that is outside of the understanding that I give in here. It is not as full of an understanding as what I give. This was a word of caution. That's what this entire thing was, right? And entire is a big word. But The overwhelming percentage of this was simply telling you this is a thing that happened, right? This priest was deceived by this Channon into believing that he created gold from quicksilver through deceit, right? This was telling you this is not a possibility. You are not going to be able to transmute through the application of heat mercury into quicksilver. That was a long-winded way of saying it, but that's what he said. And then he ended it with, there is, however, something that is beneficial to you, but it is not going to benefit you physically, right? There will be some benefits physically because the process involves you being moderate in your consumptions, right? That will lead to a better lifestyle. It requires you to be active in your physicality, which will lead to a better lifestyle. So there is improvement to be made physically from the process, but you will not be able to magically change this into that by the process. It is, however, a process of internal reflection which allows you to draw the gold from the lead. And that is exactly what I describe in the book. And so, if you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, a share, a follow, throw me a comment. Whether you agree or disagree with anything that was said, put it in the box down below. And if it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks. Consider joining for a membership or picking up a copy of the book or reaching out through any of the links provided down below. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pittstake. Peace.